Welcome back to the 101, brought to you by Lincoln Wallace, the small business and entrepreneurial show in Columbus. As always, I have Madison Gillespie with me from Lincoln Wallace. How are you, Madison?
I'm great. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so glad you're so enthused. Why are you here?
I like your shaved face, by the way. You look,
I look 20 years younger.
You do.
That's debatable, but you look very smooth and moisturized.
Well,
good to go.
Perfect segue into the bearded one. Andrew Leachman is here. Andrew, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
I thought we'd touch on what just happened last weekend very quickly, not because I care about the bodybuilding aspect, but the small business aspect of the Arnold Fitness Expo. I know, Andrew, you went down there because that's like your thing.
That's not my thing.
Not the actual booth thing, but the bodybuilding and all
Yeah, I mean, there are things I enjoy. There's more some of the stuff going on the main stages at the Expo I enjoy. And see some people that I know that like work some of the booths and do some stuff, but that's about the extent of what I actually like about it.
Well, what I want to talk about in terms of that is we are always talking about small business and entrepreneurship, and I ran into somebody who was doing the CBD oil. Mm-hmm. They had a booth there.
Yeah.
That expo has gone from selling weight belts and protein powder to they've got judo businesses in there. They've got people that sell just about anything.
It's the biggest in the world.
How much do you know about CBD?
I mean, I'm on it now, but
yeah.
No.
That was deer antler spray.
I'm taking that so I can play in the Super Bowl like Ray Lewis.
Easy, Ray Lewis, easy.
By the way, can we pause real quick?
Sure, we're only doing a radio show live right now. We can stop.
Have you seen that documentary Icarus on Netflix?
Yeah.
It won an Oscar.
Insane.
It's crazy.
Another small business, steroids.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's really funny how I was thinking about the other day. Canelo, the Triple G and the Canelo fight. He popped hot for a test, and you got the UFC fighters doing. It's if you don't think if
the
if
Russian curling guy got busted for doing.
If you can get away with it somehow with the Tour de France when they're like on it, like hunting people down in their off seasons and doing it, then you can get away with it in any sport. It's absolutely going on.
KGB agents were literally coming in and swapping out samples.
Yeah, they had a hole. They had like a plastic hole in the wall.
And it was a.
Are you accusing the Russians of cheating on something?
No. Absolutely, I'm
not going to have that
on here.
Just Sergei Fedorov, the old.
What do you got against Sergey? You probably beat the Penguins for 4 or 5 different teams.
He beat us. Yep.
I'm so glad this show is devolving this early. The point I want to round back to is the small business aspect of what the Arnold represents. And the reason I was interested in the CBD thing is a guy came in. It was a Friday night, and he stopped in the gym to talk about his experience, and all these people that came up to him. But again, that's another small business that they paid money to go down there, and they had some marketing pieces, but that's a captive audience. And again, we're always encouraging people to network and be around people that can kind of put things together for you to advance your business. And it doesn't really do anything for us in media. I mean, Madison, if I was you, I probably would have gone down there and seen what it was about. But there's so much small business going on. Isn't it the biggest event in Columbus, like revenue wise?
I would imagine that it has to be.
Something like $50 million comes in because of the hotels, booth space, and all that.
Yeah, I mean it's the biggest fitness expo in the world because that's why they call it the Arnold Sports Festival.
Right, because
they got a marathon, they've got a pump and run. They've got all kinds of weightlifting, powerlifting, strongman, bodybuilding, things for kids, gymnastics, cheerleading, fencing, all kinds of different karate. I mean, all kinds of stuff.
But again, it started out as just a bodybuilding show, and it evolved. So it was a small business that kind of...
Yeah, Bob.
Yeah. He used to have World Gyms.
Yeah, it used to be a Gold's Gym up there.
And he was tied to Arnold, right?
Yeah.
He started.
So, yeah, the gym I train at is where Arnold originally used to come to when he came to town. Like, that's kind of the mecca here in town. And then Bob Lorimer and his son still run the Arnold Amateur with Mike Davies. And if you're in the Expo Center and you look up, they've created like a suite just for the Lorimer. It says Lorimer Suite right below it. And it's just like a punch out on the wall, like a suite just for that person. It's got like some couches and some like windows to look down on the Expo, but like they're removed from it. So I actually saw Bob up there just hanging out, looking down at everything, and this man's been doing it for 30 years now.
But again, it all started from he had a vision.
Very
small.
But
his networking was with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, which
but that was early on.
Yeah, Arnold is the perfect example of the right place at the right time. I mean, there's arguably better physiques there, and if you know the sport, at least there was some times where he may not have been the best body, but in terms of being a spokesman for the sport and fitness, he embodied everything he needed to do for his business, and Bob got lucky.
I mean, Arnold happened to be a great business mind too. It wasn't like he was just some bodybuilder.
Yeah.
I mean, he's made his worth in multiple different, like, acting and business. I mean, so
he had The Apprentice for a couple
for
weeks.
13 minutes.
But again, when we're looking at that, I look at the revenue that brings to the city, or the revenue that brings people, because that is, while Andrew, from your point of view, you're probably looking at it from the sport. What I look at is that's an amazing event for somebody that owns a small business to be a part of.
It's they actually added on to the conference, the convention center, just so that they could be able to house more booths in there to make it bigger. That's how exponentially the growth has been in it. And it's smart by, like, the people who are doing CBD stuff, they're on the front end of it. There's been some research that's come out for bodybuilders to use it for rest and recovery and not have the psychoactive, which doesn't have the psychoactive ingredient THC in it, which is what the difference is pretty much between marijuana and CBD.
That's right. One of the companies I work with out in Denver sells it.
Well, first of all, I don't think we should say work with or work for. I mean, I think there's kind of news that you're kind of taking that over.
Yeah, we were fortunate enough to partner with a company that has been in an industry for about 27, 28 years. And when we came in and started working with them, they saw the value in kind of what our company brought to the table, and it allowed the owner at that time, this is kind of a recent development, to kind of drift off into retirement a little bit, or kind of just take a back seat and let somebody come in and kind of manage the day-to-day. And that's a testament to something that we've kind of built up in our business model, and what type of work we do, that somebody trusts us enough to say, hey, I see your guys' value, and you could actually run this from an operations standpoint, from, you know, all facets, not just.
Which is really amazing when you think about it, because you went in to kind of help them do their back end, and now you become the front and back end of the company.
That's right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I mean, it's a testament to, again, being in the right place at the right time, but also just the fact that somebody would trust you enough to go, not only do I think the legacy of my business is going to be better off in your hands if you're helping me with it, but take it over.
Sure.
That's a huge sign-off.
It is, and it's a great relationship with the person that we're working with, because we've shown them what our skill set is as a company, and they see the value in that. And somebody doesn't just turn something over, in quotations, you know, to a group or to an organization to help run it if they don't see the value and really trust that. And that's kind of something I'm proud of, and proud of my business partner, and the way that we've structured our business model to be able to come in and know enough about, we don't know enough about the industry that the person that started the company does, but we know it from a business standpoint, and how to keep it profitable. Yeah, so it's really exciting for us, and it's just really cool.
Now, didn't you recently just have someone talking all kinds of mess about what do you know about running a company?
That's right.
And I know you didn't want that mentioned, so I'm just going to say it on Facebook Live and on the radio.
And on my Instagram Live.
Yeah. Also, I was going to put it to a vote, but I know Andrew and I would have said, yeah, we want you to say that.
Yeah.
That was why I was amazed when you told me this information about taking over this company. Is somebody says, what does he know about taking over a company?
They could say that about me. What do I know? I'd sell roofs and climb around and talk to homeowners. But
that's true. We're going to slam you later, but I think it's important to
Madison,
acknowledge.
Madison knows a good bit about it, so that's kind of.
I think, yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, Mike.
Well, you're welcome. No one's going to hear it.
No, it's totally cool. I think sometimes it gets, sales doesn't have this, like, tangible asset to it where you're like, hey, I did X, Y, and Z for this amount of hours, and this leads to this result. In accounting or into other engineering, whatever, there's other things where you can do that. And in sales, a lot of times, you know, when I was at my previous job, people hated salespeople because they made a lot of money, and what do? You know,
like nice cars. And
it doesn't look like I work all day, but when it's time to work, it's time to work.
It's time to work. And so, yeah, you know, when comments like that are made about somebody not knowing what they're doing, it's just more motivation. It solidifies that what you're doing is right.
I think it's a huge compliment.
Yeah.
I think that it's a big deal when somebody, as I've stated before you guys were even on the show, if someone hates what I'm doing, thank you, but please let me know more of it, because I'm coming after you specifically to prove you wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's why when you told me that in confidence, and that I would never bring that up, when you said that, I thought that's still something to share, because there are entrepreneurs that are afraid to make mistakes or afraid of what people will say. You can't care, right?
Right.
Like, do you really care what this person says who works for some other company that what do you know, and you just took over a 12 to $16 million business.
Right.
Do you care?
No.
Can I say what the business is? I'm not. I'm
No.
just kidding.
No, you're fine.
I'm just kidding. I just wanted to out you about everything
No.
else.
No, yeah, I mean, look, I didn't get into Lincoln Wallace for anybody else but myself, and what I believe that I'm capable of doing. And the beauty of co-creating with other people is that if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room.
Right.
And I don't claim to be the smartest
That's
person.
why
in the
Andrew's
room.
here.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Andrew's the dumbest
Oh,
log in the room.
Hi. Are we on the radio?
Don't worry about it. He told us to take a pause. 30 seconds.
Yeah, 30 seconds. Can we
I
pause
introduced
this?
him. He goes, "Can we pause?
Yeah.
Can we take a break?"
I sent you an article that I shared on LinkedIn that talked about entrepreneurs and the myths to starting a business. And a lot of times people think that they have to know everything, or that they have to. You don't have to know anything. You just have to partner with somebody that offsets the stuff that you maybe aren't as skilled at. And to the point of not being the smartest person in the room, that's a big compliment, because that means you're surrounding yourself with people that will take you to that next level.
Yep.
It's not about being the smartest.
But again, to go back to how all this started, I put this show together to write it for someone else. Like, well, you just say these things, and that person, it wasn't their bag. They didn't want to do it. And then I just kept it going, and I made Andrew. This is Mr. Noah guy, right?
Yep.
So he always has a guy. That's how all this got put together. But we're creating our own network of what we're doing, and we just had a conversation where we might add this to 3 more stations because someone's been watching.
That's right.
Right?
It's awesome.
So you never know where it's going to go, but again, you're creating more business. Andrew's creating more business because I see the things that you're promoting. You've got a buddy that has a company. You're helping him push his stuff.
It's actually funny. He's a local business, and in the fitness industry, if you're paying for product and advertising it, you're apparently doing something wrong. But I actually like it. Thing is, I spend my money for it, the product that works. Doesn't matter where it's from, but it ends up being one of my buddy's companies. He's got a PhD and a background that actually helps him put this stuff together, and it's great. Yeah, it's great stuff, and he's a small business trying to get up off the ground. So why wouldn't I want to help him? Why wouldn't I pay for it and then show people that's what I'm taking? And I don't earn anything from it. I don't get anything free from it, but I think sometimes we all want something for free right away before we've even earned the right to get things for free. Like we talk about that with people that there are people that say they're entrepreneurs in social media, and they're the serial entrepreneur.
Right.
But and to Madison's point last week, people start a lot of different businesses, and some of them do fail, and you finally find one that works. But there's a lot of people that haven't done any of that, and they're writing books.
Well, and
The
just
books.
to talk about this show and why this show was created, starting a business is hard. It's hard. There's emotion. You try to take the emotions out of it, but there's emotions. There's up and downs. There's I don't know if I'm going to make it. There's all this stuff. And so this show was created to give resources to other people that are entrepreneurs. That's the sole reason it was created. It wasn't created because we know everything. And we don't claim to know everything. It was created so we can give a platform to people that want to maybe take that leap of faith. And we're all on this, doing this, and putting ourselves out there, and we don't care what people think.
Right.
And that's what is going to ultimately kind of excel our own businesses and get us to where we're going.
Well, it's also to let people know it's okay to make mistakes. There are people, we did a show, one of our first shows was about the sexual harassment thing. And somebody, while we're doing the show, gave us a note, why don't you have a woman on to talk about from that side? That's a great point of view.
Yep.
That's what we want.
We're trying to bring in good points of view.
Right. We're always telling people, if you have an opinion on something, it's okay. We want to hear what your questions are. The biggest thing when I started my business was I looked for a mentor. That's a big deal to find a mentor. I happened to find the person that all they cared about was how much money could they get out of me, not to teach me anything, but how much money could I bring in. So while I was doing that, I was giving away 50% of my profit to be with somebody thinking, you're going to teach me this because you've been around so long. At the end of the day, I didn't learn how to do anything because I didn't smoke cigarettes, and that's all he did every 7 minutes. Right? So I didn't learn anything from that process.
Is it weird? I know who you're talking about.
It's not weird because you've probably been there many times. I'm going to go outside and smoke a cigarette, so stay on the porch.
Yes.
That's what I learned.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about.
I
It's
do.
one of those things where you think, I'm going to learn from the best person out here. And I didn't learn anything. And I spent 4 years doing it to the point where I was like, I'd be better off doing this in my basement. You know, which is what I did. But if you're going to put yourself out there, you have to have the passion to follow through on this stuff. And you were talking about delegating. That's the biggest misnomer in this business is, it's my business. I'm going to take care of it all myself. You can't. I'm really good at math, but I'm good at math figuring out, here's what your budget is, here's what we can put together.
Here's my commission percentage.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep 80% of this, and you're gonna get nothing else. But when it comes down to, I hate paper. Like, it's well known in this industry, if you try to hand me a piece of paper, I will not put my hand. I hate it because I'm gonna lose it, stick it in a pile. I just don't want to be in charge of it. So I got someone who's fantastic with that, who carries around a backpack that's the size of like those people that are Sherpas trying to get you up a mountain. But we have everything. Anytime I need something, it's available. That was something I tried to tackle on my own. Can't do that, right?
Yeah, and you recognize that.
Yeah, but I knew that early on. It's just like, I thought it's my responsibility. So
you just need to know what you don't know, or know what you're not good at.
Right.
For sure.
Well, this goes back to you, Andrew, where Madison and I always want you to start your own thing, and then I know you're going to do it at some point, but it's one of those, like, you drive us crazy. We have side conversations, not just about
behind your back. Totally.
Yeah, not just about how small that shirt is that he's wearing.
It's a boy's medium. Get off me.
Definitely shops at the kids' clothing store so he can save money.
He's a kids' gap kind of guy.
He's a thrifter.
They're hand-me-ups for my nephews.
But what I find funny about you is you are very tech savvy. You read the trades. All the things that he and I do, and yet we look at you and it's like, there's so much potential with that guy right there.
Yeah, I'm flattered.
Don't be
I appreciate it.
bashful.
I appreciate it.
We don't like you. We're just saying it's potential.
It's just, I'm in a good spot right now, and it's not just about me right now. I've got a team of guys that I've been training, and I want to make sure that their income is in a good spot before I do anything that would maybe disrupt that. Maybe that's short-sighted on my end, but
we're not trying to bully you. I'm just saying, I think that you have to recognize someone's talents. That's all I'm saying, is we recognize the things that you have. It's just, for us, we're in a different boat.
Yeah.
Where we're looking at it from the outside and going, boy, I bet those animals would like to run free and do their own thing.
I think part of it may stem from the fact that I was involved in a company that was trying to get up and running, and I watched two people that were really good at sales and didn't know what they weren't good at trip and fall over each other, and they're still doing it. And I don't
feel free to name them.
Yeah, it's like,
no, I'm just kidding. No, I tried to talk over that. I was totally kidding. Yeah. Here's their phone number.
Yep. Here's their website. No, it's just, I think that's maybe jaded me a little bit from the fact of, like, I need to be removed from that for a while before I feel crazy enough to go back down that road. Yeah, that's basically, I think that's pretty much the reason why I haven't. I don't really have interest in feeling like that and feeling that amount of stress. Because you can't deny there is stress involved with it.
Yeah. Oh, he was just talking about the stress he was having last night. Now he's got two businesses essentially to run. So, and I get it, because I was there where you're taking that phone call at 10 o'clock at night and you're walking, you don't know when it's going to end, but you have to, you can't duck it.
Yep.
Yeah. No, you can't. And I mean, this is what you sign up for, and in a lot of ways, not the unknown. I mean, that's kind of the thrill of it, but it's also the heartache of it. And as much as I enjoy coming on this radio show and talking about entrepreneurship and encouraging people to come on and to grow their businesses at the same time, like, there's all a reality for all of us that it's not easy. What we're doing is not easy. We're not just getting on here because this is, I mean, it's a journey, it's a challenge, and we're encouraging Andrew because we see something in him, and he'll get there at some point. And that's
probably not.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's true.
Don't bet on it.
Yeah. But it's a process. It really is. And if we can be an outlet to people that can help them, then it's awesome.
Do you like to read books, either one of you, by local entrepreneurs? Do you like to do that?
I can't read.
Yeah. Well, I can tell.
Yeah.
But he's really good on social media. I'm seeing a lot of books written by local entrepreneurs, and it's one of the most frustrating things in the world, because you can put that content out there, but when you research and you go, so you've been in business like a year and a half, but you're going to tell people how they should run their business. That's the only frustrating thing. I think there's a lot of bad, let's just call it data out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the things that I was talking to you guys about before we went on the air was I saw somebody posted, "Don't ask Gary B." or Gary Vaynerchuk is his name. Don't ask him about starting a business. Ask his dad. Right. So the millennial generation and that, you know, even up to 40 years old, people are looking at Gary Vee like he has all the answers. But his dad's the one that got the business started, his wine business, and then he kind of took it over from there. Now you're looking at it, and he's getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to speak at events. And that's the part where I'm just looking at it, I'm going, but what are you saying? Like, everything goes back to his company. If you want to do this, well, we totally do that. I kind of feel like we should do that. Just put out a video like, hey, if you have $200,000 to spend, just come to us.
You know, it's
he literally put out a video that said that. If you have $200,000 you want to spend on digital media, call me. And people responded to him.
I'm sure.
Because they think he's the guru.
If you buy a John Deere, you think it's going to be better.
Well, he has this great platform in a time where entrepreneurship is at it's growing. It's people are like, I can do this on my own. And he tries to be as transparent as possible and say, no, it's tough. And he goes into all these speeches, you know, suck it up and all this stuff. But yeah, it's an interesting concept when you've been given a nice platform to get there.
Well, if you have a couple $1 million to start, anybody can be an entrepreneur because you can be wrong a lot, right?
Yeah.
But if you're starting with nothing, you're all in, right? You've got loans or whatever else you got going on. That's the disingenuous part to me is it's easy to look at somebody wearing jeans and a t-shirt that says creative shop, but at the end of the day, are you actually doing that work? Are you doing the digital strategy? Are you doing the radio? Are you doing the TV? That's the part when I hear him speak. I was super into what he was saying, and I think it was mostly because he was swearing all the time. And I'm like, that's the guy.
He has a way of speaking, though, that gets you, like...
He does.
Right.
Like, almost like QVC...
I'm sorry? QV... Are you talking about the home shop?
Yeah, it's like, when he just kind of is like, he's fast-paced, and he's speaking... I don't know. He's like an infomercial guy, like Billy Mays.
Yeah, right. I get what you're saying. Like, he's
I'd
very...
buy a towel from Gary Vee right now.
Exactly.
He's very quick-witted. Yeah. So it comes off like... Boom, boom. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to make a point that we're in an age of technology where that's why it's so much easier to become an entrepreneur. With companies like Madison being able to handle back office solutions, and you can hire people, and you don't even have to leave your house. You can start a business. You can mail stuff. It's really easy to do. What also comes is the spread of information. Also comes the ease of spread of misinformation.
Right.
Things are murky. It's hard for people. I explain basic concepts of dieting to my girlfriend, and she's like, "Well, why don't people do that?" It's because there's a bunch of stuff that says other things online.
Right. There's counterintelligence.
Yeah, there's counterintelligence. Like, you have to wade through it, and unless you have somebody that knows what they're doing, it's pretty murky.
Right. Let's take a break right here, and then we'll pick this back up. You're listening to the 101, brought to you by Lincoln Wallace. I want to tag Gary being this like you. My point to this is that when he's talking about, there was one where he was talking about traditional media, like billboards, TV, radio. That's all bullshit. It all do all this digital. At the time, I didn't realize VaynerMedia just did digital ad. You know what I mean? That's like when you go and tout a stock, and you're like, well, yeah, I happen to own all that stock, but I don't care if you invest in it. Yeah, shit.
Well, Donald Trump's dad gave him $1 million, but he turned it into $1 billion.
Yeah, but you know what? He earned it. Okay, he earned it. What is Donald? Name me 3,000 things in a row in order that he's done wrong. Thank you. He had vodka.
So I heard somebody describe him as he's like what people who have never had money envision like what a rich person would
Gary
be like. No, Donald Trump.
Oh.
Like,
I totally would be. I would be eating chicken nuggets.
Like,
I'd be walking past the homeless.
Well, he got like definitely like popped up for like amphetamines a few years. Like, he's on some sort of diet.
Yeah,
that's why he has like so much energy,
now.
dude.
Yes.
Like 70 years old, running around on Adderall.
There was a tweet.
If you can get it, take it.
I mean, I'm sure he's not struggling to buy it.
No, he just wants to read a lot. He needs the Adderall to study.
Well, like 70. What was he? He's like 70 years old.
I think he's 69, isn't he? That's stupid. Don't
70 years old, and he's on the campaign trail like more than anybody else.
He's a monster.
Yeah. Well, when he wins the next 3 elections, people are going to get happy. They just got to get used to it. That's all. Hashtag I'm with her. Jimmy, you ready?
Ready to roll?
All right. Stop laughing. Okay.
His phone's blowing up.
Don't worry. We're not doing anything right now.
Text, and it's really bothering me.
Tell them you're going
Tell him you're doing a radio show.
I'm good.
Okay. His phone's blowing up. The whole world's calling him. There we go.
Welcome back to the 101, brought to you by Lincoln Wallace. Boys, before the break, we were talking about Gary Vee and how he has all the answers. I think we all agreed on that. I want to actually get into one of the things that Gary Vee is excellent at, which is delegating, or things that he's not going to touch, right? And Madison, this is going to be a home run for you because you're probably going to agree on all these points, but I'd like you to kind of elaborate these. As far as things you must give up, the first one being finance, right? Define what that would mean. I can tell you what it means for my business. Like, I do not do the billing anymore. I don't even touch it. So Rachael will do that. I will double check it, but after the first couple months, I totally trust she's got it. Now we will go over that, but it's not up to me at that point. That's what her task is the finance portion of this.
Right.
Can you give a little definition of how you look at finance when you're handling back end?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on both sides of it, right? Like, we have our own stuff within our company, you know, the finances and managing all that, but then working with people and seeing how they manage their back end. A lot of people, and Mike, I mean, I think you'll admit to this, you didn't get into media to manage all of the financial, like, that's not attractive to you. Like, you don't want to do that, right? I mean, like,
That's the worst part of the job, is
For
picking
sure.
up the check when
Yeah.
you have to remind somebody, because it always is very, you do the task and then you go, hey, would you mind paying me for what I just did?
Mhm.
Like, most of the time it's okay, but I can't stand that part of the gig, which
Mhm.
is why I send the lady Wolverine and I'm like, hey, go get that check for me.
and she's on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I think there's a portion of accountability that's attached to it too. When you have somebody in your corner that's looking out for your business and they're managing your bills and they know your cash flow and they know your profitability, whether it's week by week, month by month, they can actually say, hey, I know you want to go do this and this. You have a strategic partner that can answer some of those questions for you, because if you're trying to run your business and whatever that business is, there is an aspect of it that you have to be involved in what the actual business is.
Well, one of my favorite things about what you just said is the accountability is we've had issues where someone will say, no, I issued that check or I did this. And without even saying a word, like Rachael will have this document that shows the history of payments and it's all checked off and highlighted.
Yep.
The thing is, I have to remind her, like, stop chewing their arm off. Like, just send it. It's cool. Or we can have a conversation. She's like, nope, and here it is. And it's a whole, and I'm like, relax. We just need to get one check this month. It's okay.
But she's on.
But that, again,
Yeah.
that's
you
what
need
she's
that.
there for.
You absolutely need
Right.
that.
You do, because that might not be your skill set to go. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I'm
I
just
hate
saying,
it. I hate it.
You hate it. So she's being the aggressor and be like, no, we need to get this.
Right.
It's black and white. We need to get a check. I'm going to go get it. I'm going to handle it how I handle it. And sometimes, like, I have certain skill sets that my business partner doesn't have, and vice versa. And that's why we're partners. I can't do everything. He can't do everything. And that's why you need a partner on the back end. And, you know, Lincoln Wallace is not something that was created that's revolutionary. We took a basic concept, which is what every business owner needs. We simplified it. We made it more efficient for people to understand, and we're good at what we do. And we tweaked it a little bit to make it better. And so,
But isn't that how you did? Oh no, I forgot. You met Andrew because he was posting you up on a wall because you were getting out of hand at a bar. I thought you guys had met. Well, you met in your previous career, but obviously, I remember we had this conversation. You said that the company Andrew was at needed back end help, and then he said it over and over. The mistakes they made never got corrected. So
because we were working together on the media side of things. In the marketing, I ran things by him, and he helped us. We were doing some stuff with NBC, and then I knew he knew enough about the back office stuff that I'd have conversations about leads and trying to get appointments scheduled and trying to figure out just payroll. I mean, I got a pay stub one time as a text message.
That's actually, when you told me that, I thought that's the greatest way to do it. So I text Rachel and I go, your pay stub is 0.
Yeah, I'm not paying you anything.
Yeah. Thanks, Greg.
Like a text.
you're going to want to hang on to that.
Yeah. This is legit.
And a
Screenshot
personal check, and I'm working at a company that's doing millions of dollars in revenue a year.
I see nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure everything's on the up and up with their financials.
We met because Andrew knew that I was in. Andrew's a smart guy. He was working for a company and was helping them grow. And his first thought was, how can I make this, put my tentacles in all these different types of marketing things? One of them was linking up with you with the radio side of stuff, and you guys met, and then he contacted me. Well, we kind of talked about doing some TV stuff, and it turned into us sitting down with the owners and going through a strategic marketing plan that could take them to the next level and be a Central Ohio professional.
Which I think
and
I
an
actually
expert.
sold them the plan before they met.
Yeah,
with
he
me.
really did. I walked in and it was pretty much for the most part
It was
sold.
done. Yeah,
right?
because we met after the fact, and I remember seeing the jackets with the NDC logo, and I thought, so now you're going to ask me my opinion on this thing
Yeah,
while
right.
you're wearing it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
It's a great idea. Well, so that led to, I try to look at situations like in most businesses, you're problem solving for people or you're creating a product that makes something more convenient for them. And I was paying attention to what I was seeing with problem areas within the clients that I was dealing. And one of those things was the back end invoicing accounting, because as an account rep, you're doing it all. From getting the checks, getting the invoices, making sure those are paid. And if you didn't get that invoice paid, then that came off your commission. So you were all over that. And I saw a lot of people, not saying they were a mess financially, but there wasn't the organization that could be. There was probably ways they were spending more money on certain things. Andrew solidified that conversation when he was telling me stuff. And so this Lincoln Wallace thing is 3 years in the making. I was seeing that and put a business plan together that said, hey, with a model that works for everybody, that can help the back end, I have a really talented business partner. Why wouldn't I come in and show what we can do and just tweak the financial accounting way of doing things, being more personable, being more involved, and that's kind of how it started. And Andrew kind of was on that journey. When we started talking about it, he's like, that's a great idea, because people need that service and they want somebody they can trust.
Well, I want to ask Andrew this question, because you saw people starting a business and the holes in the dam started getting bigger. When we're talking about finance, I also think your sales funnel is part of your finance. Revenue coming in and kind of that check and balance. Did they pay? Where's my money going? Because we've talked about this before off the air. In order to do roofing jobs or window jobs or whatever, you have to outlay some of that money to get the product to do it.
Right.
But you also have to get a deposit. And the thing that always scared me was like, oh, they just put 30% down or 50% down. Once you complete that job, and I can tell you from dealing with remodelers for 20-some years, to get someone to pay you after the fact in a remodeling industry is a pain.
And scary, probably.
Right? Yeah, well, because let's say you didn't manage your finances, right? Your funnel wasn't as full as you thought, or these jobs didn't come through. Then you're trying to get your money as a salesperson or a service person. It's like, well, it didn't come in, so I know I owe you $10,000, but I'm not gonna pay you.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one still open since last July.
Since last July.
And it was an insurance claim, so the money was paid, and then the homeowner spent the money on.
Did they get something nice?
I don't know what they got.
All right,
but,
we should check in with them.
We've
Yeah.
got 3 segues.
If they're
We've
not
got-
gonna, that would be awesome. In a hot
Good
tub.
baby, you got 3 segues.
Yeah.
God, I hate you.
But you're riding it with them?
Yeah,
You're like, all right,
but
it's still
I
cool.
always want to try one of these.
Yeah.
Ride it right off a
I hate
cliff.
this, that I enjoy this.
Fun fact, you know that's how the Segway, the creator of Segway actually died. He rode it off a cliff.
That's I think I did.
I promise you,
Do you
look
mean
it
he
up.
did like that Price is Right?
No, like
game
it
where
like
you go up the
malfunctioned.
mountain?
It malfunctioned, just drove off a cliff.
We can't. Don't say things like that.
It
While
actually happened.
we're doing a show, don't tell me about the Segway thing, because now I want to ask more questions about that.
But
Stop.
yeah, I actually have an entire department of people that handle all the financials at Feasel. I have people that call, they send invoices. After 30 days, they start putting in interest on it with I think it's a 3%. I don't know what it is, but it's a little bit of an interest. Like,
But
hey,
that's a
pay-
bigger size company.
Yeah,
right,
so I've got people that handle all that, and I don't have to the follow up is not done by me. It's done by an office and somebody who's in the office making a phone call, and it's their job. It comes across a lot easier.
Well, I want to move from finance really quickly before the break into legal. And I can tell you from experience, having an attorney, at least someone to talk to, is a big deal. Maybe they're not on retainer, but if you need somebody in that situation, I think that's very important. Because, there are times we're dealing with somebody now that we were doing a show with them in Mansfield, and they didn't pay their bill. Well, people are coming after us to pay his bill, and I said, you can forget about that. Here's his phone number, credit card, here's his address. You can go after him if you want to. You have to have legal representation, right?
Yep.
So at Lincoln Wallace, what do you guys do? I mean, if somebody's in that kind of boat, do you have someone you recommend, or that's kind of all wrapped up in who
Yeah, we partnered with a group of attorneys that we work with directly, like personally, and then also for our own business. But all that is a resource. I mean, if we're working with a client, they're saying, hey, I'm having this issue, all we can do is say, this is who we recommend, this is somebody that we trust. but they also have to vet that process. But yeah, we
What if they go around your recommendation?
I would respect it.
But I'm saying,
Yeah, I mean,
we've done this before. We're like, hey, this is what you should do.
Uh-huh.
And you go against the recommendation. And then they call and complain, and I just stay quiet until they're done talking so I can say, well, this is who I recommend. Because I'm not going to argue with you. But in your situation, you're advising somebody, this has to do with your finances and your business. Here's what we recommended. You went against it. Like, what do you say at that point?
Well, we slash their tires first.
I mean, very important. You don't want to be
Step one.
vengeful, but
Right.
you want to make a point.
Yeah, and nothing personal.
Right.
No, I mean, there's going to be stuff that when that happens, we haven't had a situation where that's happened, so I really can't speak on that. But yeah, it would be unfortunate if we were giving them solid advice and helping their business for a year or so time, and something would come up and we say, hey, use this resource, we really trust them. If they went around us, probably wouldn't feel the best, but at the same time, we're also handling their financials, and maybe they want a third party totally removed from the situation, not somebody that we trust. You know,
Right.
So if that came up,
checks and balances a little bit there.
for sure, I would respect it, but I would hope that they would trust us enough.
But see, when you go through the checks and balances, I think that's a valid point. But then I look at it and I say, if someone's going to go against your check and like,
Why are you even
Well,
have
the-
them doing all the other stuff?
if you're planning something out for someone, I have this in mind for you. This is how this works. So you have control over it somewhat.
Mhm.
If they go outside of that, you change the paradigm. So I can't do anything.
Well, yeah, you're adding variables that you maybe
Well,
can't
do
measure.
you, the doctor that first diagnosed something that you have some cancer or something else, do you think he's offended by getting a second
Yes,
opinion?
because I think doctors are very full of themselves.
Well, that's true.
So is that the question you're asking?
Well, yeah. I mean, I
Pretty
guess
open and shut case, I think.
I'm just saying, like, you can't. Would it? I don't know.
You're stammering now.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, I
It
can't
doesn't
relate to it
translate
because
well
it
on the
hasn't
radio.
happened. But yeah, thanks, guys.
I think you summarized the legal part of that very well.
Did I?
With that, yeah, when you pulled away from the microphone and looked up at the sky. So we're going to go to break and give you a chance. Maybe when we come back from break, Madison will have that.
Actually, I'm
answer.
gonna be here after break.
Listen, it won't bother me. We only have another 20 minutes to go. You're listening to the 101 brought to you by Lincoln Wallace. So I'm going to go into back office work and what that really entails. You know,
We got about 16 minutes.
Okay. Andrew, is there anything you want to hit?
After the segue, I've been good. I've been holding that in for a while.
My God, I was about to lose my mind.
That's literally how
Because
we
I
died.
couldn't. I lost all.
So
track
that
of
is
what we were
true.
doing.
That is true.
Wow.
Like he malfunctioned and it drove right
Drove off a cliff,
I
poor
can
guy.
I
only
did. I think I
picture-
did hear
I
that.
can only
Jeez.
picture that Segway commercial, like in Italy, and the guy going. I couldn't remember what we were talking about, so I was like, "Eh." So anyway,
But I brought it back. I
I
knew
know,
we
but
were
it
talking
took me a minute because I was like,
It's okay.
I just pictured this dude on this little.
like the yodeler and
Yeah.
Prince Straight.
Oh, yeah.
He's just
Oh, no,
climbing
Price
him.
is Right.
You all right,
I
Jimmy?
remember
Do
that.
you need to step out, or are you good?
No, I'm just feel like crap.
All right, so-
I'm out of it. My head is pounding.
No, it's okay. I mean, we'll
His
just
head hurts and my
reschedule
gut
moving
hurts.
I almost canceled on you.
I could deal with him. I don't need you.
That's why he said he might leave after the break.
Did you like when I was pulling up beside you? I was kind
Yeah.
of Fast and the Furious
You
until I
were.
saw that truck.
You're like Robin's racing.
He pulls up by the stop sign, and I'm across, and he starts doing it. I can't see it through his like tinted windows because he's gangster. So I pull up alongside him. We're going down like some side street. But when I saw the mail truck, I thought I don't want to cause any issues.
I didn't think that was you at first. I thought you drove a Prius for some reason.
Why would I drive a Prius?
Madison and I
I
were just doing the
see
show because Mike drove into a mail
Yeah.
truck.
It would have been awesome.
And that's probably the guy who delivers the mail here. He's
I
like,
think it
Dave,
is.
he's a nice man.
Yeah.
Don't
It's
leave Dave alone.
Yeah,
It's a
I think his
mail
name's Dave.
carrier.
He's a real
by the
nice
way.
guy.
Not
Sideswiped the
It's
mailman.
just like in Fast and Furious. You owe me a 10-second car.
That's
And
right.
We were really hauling ass.
I was about to do Robin's racing.
No, you weren't.
I know.
Am I the only person here that's only seen the first Fast and the Furious, hasn't seen any other ones?
Probably.
I've
I
never
haven't
seen
seen-
any of them.
Okay. I haven't seen Fast and Furious 18 yet.
Listen, you haven't
Isn't there
seen
like
they're
18 of them?
They're solving crimes now.
There's
Wow.
And
International crimes.
Isn't there 18 of them now?
There's 8 or 9. I don't know.
Oh,
They-
okay.
They can keep going as long as like the Rock.
as long as the Rock is there, I'm buying.
Because I'm just like, yeah, that makes sense. to
Excuse
wear
me,
that
I'm
little
streaming.
shirt.
I'm streaming quasi legally.
I'm sorry. What poem? What was that?
Streaming.
Streaming? Oh.
Yeah, Cody. I'm not buying anything.
I don't know what show you think you're doing right now, but I have no idea what you're talking about. What are you saying? Streaming Cody?
You know what Cody is?
Oh yeah, Fire Stick.
Yeah.
Get in the game.
It's
bro.
like an app. It's an app.
Sorry,
It's
bro.
an app. You can
Why don't you hit me up on my MySpace
It just
account?
came out
You are
yesterday.
one
Come on, get
I
with
bet
it.
you didn't. I bet you don't even have a
No
song
offense,
in your MySpace account.
Oh my god, dude. Are you serious? I have like My Heart Will Go On by
He's
Zoe.
still
No
using-
embedded HTML with sparkle background. Get out of here.
He's still using LimeWire.
Go back to your desktop and fix it.
Sorry, meme and GIF and JPEG.
I don't know what any of this stuff is that you're talking about. I have no clue.
I'm literally
That's
lost.
the
from
best.
laughing.
I'm on
Jimmy
MySpace.
Look.
I'm on MySpace.
Definitely.
He's still friends with Tom.
He's
on
on
MySpace.
Facebook.
Exactly.
Hey, we
Tom
should
on
find-
MySpace.
that Tom from MySpace. Got
I'm
like
waiting for these
$300
friend
million.
requests to roll in. Me and Tom are just
You know what
hanging
he
out
does?
on
He just takes
MySpace.
pictures. He travels the world and just takes pictures.
He has $300 million.
That when they bought MySpace, thinking it was going to
Didn't
be
Yahoo
some-
buy it?
I think so.
Wow.
That's where I,
Shit,
that's the
good for that
rich
guy.
I'm trying to get.
Yeah, he
Wow.
does takes like digital pictures of stuff all the time, and I'm like, we were friends.
I have a
back
buddy I
then.
went to high school. Well, I've known since third grade who drives around and takes fantastic photos of in Iceland and all over the world. I'm like, Tom, damn, you sell any of these? You
Some
got
of
to
these teachers
sometimes.
in high schools are taking inappropriate pictures, but that's so different.
No, he's taking pretty
What?
pictures of
I missed
volcanoes and
Rape.
bad high school teachers. The bad teachers.
Get it together. We got a show to finish.
Yeah, and we're not going to play hot for teacher. Okay.
Can we please segue in with that with teacher?
Yeah,
All right, Jimmy, when you're ready.
that'll be our bump music coming back.
That would
I'm
be
hot
the
for
best.
teacher. Okay.
I'm so lost.
Ready? We got like 16 minutes. It was
Okay.
Van Halen song.
Oh,
Came out
okay.
before you were born. Here we go.
Welcome back to the 101, brought to you by Lincoln Wallace. Madison, you were guffawing before the break, and so I want to come back to you. We were talking about the things you need to delegate or find experts in if you own a small business or you're an entrepreneur. So we talked about finance and finding someone that can handle that, whether it's third party or somebody within your organization. We talked about the legal aspect, finding a legal outlet or a retainer type service so that you're protected on all those fronts. The big part of this that I think Andrew has kind of gone into, and we've kind of touched on this, is back office work, which I think is a really
Broad
lame term for it, because back office work could be a billing department. That's the way I look at it.
Let's
but it's
create a
more
new
than
name
that.
for it then.
By all means, go ahead
No,
and
go
start.
ahead. You got it.
No, Andrew is our creative director over
That's
here.
right,
What's a
yeah.
good term for back office work?
Foundation work. You absolutely have to have it.
I really didn't think he was going to have an
I
answer.
know,
That's
that's
really
amazing.
good.
He's building houses over
Yeah.
here.
That's
But,
what
I
he's
mean,
doing. He's
seriously,
got
that's-
donuts. He's got foundation.
It's kind of the same thing. It's kind of the same thing across all kinds of businesses. Things you have to handle. You have to handle getting paid. You have to bill people. You have to have an HR department. You have to have payroll.
But you're lumping all that together. I mean, I
it's-
think
yeah,
that's right.
I think it's all foundational work for a business that needs to run efficiently for you to be able to do the stuff you're good at. If it doesn't, you won't.
He's exactly right. The whole premise of what we started wasn't like accounting is the core of what we do, Lincoln Wallace. But that's not all that we do, because there's more than just checking the books and keeping everything in order. And we learned that when we got into one of our first clients that we were meeting with, that they needed help with payroll, and they needed help with balancing their books and getting their taxes done and all that stuff. Then the conversation led to, hey, we need some marketing material because we want to do door hangers for they're a septic company. Can you help us with that? So then we did that. We designed it for them. We made everything for them. We got the best cost for them. We gave them to them. We showed them what they should do. We put up all their past clients that they had billed before and said, hey, you should go reapproach these clients. So it's not just coming in and doing the accounting, where we build a business model like, hey, Mike, I have a client who would love to get on the radio and do commercials and do all these things.
No.
I'm not for hire.
Yeah.
Who should I call, Mike? I'm just asking. I'm just
I
asking
can
you
name
a
4 or
question.
5 people, and they will call
That's
you
what
back.
I figured. So back office is so broad, and that's why I'm not me personally, I'm not an accounting expert. I don't claim to be. I know enough, but I have a partner who really is.
But did you evolve where, when we're talking about back office or foundation, thank you, Andrew, when we're talking about that, did it evolve from, it was an accounting specific company that grew, and you said, well, people need help with their HR issues. They need help with their marketing, right? So you're kind of a touch-all for any kind of piece, or you'll figure it out, right?
Yeah, like you don't want to water yourself down by presenting yourself that, hey, we do IT, HR, payroll, accounting, and then on the next thing you know, they're like, well, what don't they do, and are they that efficient in everything that they do?
Right.
So it was easier to start with the accounting aspect
Accounting
of
is
it.
the biggest hurdle for a lot of businesses.
And everybody needs it. They're like, not everybody needs marketing. Some job. I know that hurts.
I mean, I don't know what that means, really. Everyone needs to
Just take a
advertise.
knife out and stab them in the heart.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm sorry.
thanks for coming. We'll finish the show with that.
I'll take care of them.
Yeah.
Some people work from one computer and don't need any IT support whatsoever. They don't have a LAN phone line. They don't have anything. So in some situations, the accounting is all we do. In other situations, we go into a big company and we say, hey, we can cut your expenses by $4,000 a month because you're overpaying in your IT, phone services, internet, and all that stuff. We're going to switch all that out. We have a team in place that we partner with that will come in and do that. So it's more, the accounting was the core, and then we knew that we're skilled in other areas, but we didn't present it like that way full on. We wanted it to organically happen. Hey, we need a guy that can help us with this, and we can say, come to us first, we'll give you a resource for what you need. That way it's an all-encompassing foundational support to Andrew's new word that he created.
Well, I think also the other thing is you want to start with the accounting because you said everybody needs it, but there's legal ramifications for not having a good accountant.
And we've seen that.
Yeah,
You're exactly
taxes, you can get, all kinds of stuff. So you need to start with that because that's the hardest one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not to diminish marketing or anything else, but I think after the accounting, everything else is a little bit more, not easy, but it's fundamental. Whereas,
well, you do have to set that baseline.
Yeah,
so if you have your accounting in order.
Yeah.
You can run a business. If you have that messed up, doesn't
you
matter.
don't have to do marketing. You don't have to do it but if you don't have
Why
your
are you saying
accounting, I'm
like,
just,
why are you? This is a show where we kind of talk about marketing, and you're saying you don't need. I hate both of you. Go ahead.
I think
friends.
I'm just saying for a business to not go out of business, to not get in trouble legally, it absolutely has to have its books in line.
Here's a great example. When I was selling at NBC, my prospecting was totally different than what it is now, from the standpoint that Al's Popcorn Shop over on Bethel Road probably isn't going to spend $60,000 on TV. They just don't have the budget, and it just doesn't make sense for them. On the other hand, they still need to do accounting.
Right.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And so we start with the accounting, and then I would use somebody like yourself, and that's why we're working together, that if I had somebody that approached me and said, hey, I need an expert in radio, I would send them to you, or TV, or advertising as a whole. You're not just in radio, because that would limit yourself of what you can do.
See those bench signs? We buy a lot of those.
Yeah.
And you know what we put on them? Have you seen this? Bench signs work. That's our campaign.
I love it. I knew that was you.
I have a question, though, now that we're talking about the foundation work. Is there's somebody that we know that they have a lawn care business, and it's not just lawn care like cutting the grass, and I see that they're expanding and they're getting more and more accounts. All right, so they're doing everything right, but the same people that are going out to do the actual physical labor are also doing the back end, right?
Yeah, you're not going to grow that.
Well, I think here's your issue. Let's say you get 20 new accounts, and they're not residential. They're commercial jobs. You can grow all you want, but how do you collect your money on time? How do you get lost in that paperwork nightmare? So instead of hiring another person, I see they're buying more equipment, right? I'm going to invest more and more into actually doing the job versus what my revenue is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see something like that, do you ever just step in just as like an outside observer and go, they're going to take your house, bro? Even if it's a woman, you still say bro.
So I always say bro.
Yeah.
Or brah.
Brah.
What's up, brah?
Yeah.
I
get nervous when I see that stuff, and especially if it's someone that's a friend that has their own business, because it's hard to step in when you're friends with someone and say, you know what, you're dunking this thing in the water, like you're not going to get out from under this, because then it's like, oh, I appreciate your input. They don't look at it like you have any business sense, even though you're running a business.
Right. I mean, look, the same is true with my company. We're growing, and we're having to learn how to grow, and there's growing pain. And we strategically put a business plan together that if X, Y, and Z happens, then this, and this happens, because that's the only way we can grow in a way that isn't detrimental to our business, where we're pushing out a bunch of cash to bring in all this revenue that, in essence, we either can't handle or it's not managed correctly. And there's different stages. You start the business in the hopes that you'll grow, but sometimes that growth can be...
Well, it can be a negative.
It
If
can
you're
be
growing too fast and you're not...
Right.
If you're getting too many people that want your service, but you can't service them correctly, you're failing.
Right. And
we look incompetent.
Right.
And I've had some really real conversations with my business partner about that, because he knows more about it than I do, and that's just what it is. And so when we have these conversations, he's like, look, there's processes that have to happen in order for you to get to a certain point. You can't just grow without strategically thinking about it, because ultimately that will come back to haunt you in a lot of ways. So that's why when I bring somebody like Josh, my business partner, into a situation to talk to somebody about their financial stuff, he brings so much value in that sense, where he can ask the right questions and say, hey, ask the right questions to figure out how fast they're growing and what they need to do to implement that correctly. Because growth is a great thing, but I've also seen it can be a detriment to where you're going if you don't.
Well, we have that situation where we just took on a new client, and his issue was he was hesitant at first. Now he can't get another patient in there until like the end of April. I can't turn off what we're doing because you're getting too many people. Then the conversation is, well, they're not. Some of them need to be this kind of person. You really can't say, like, the whole point is you fill this sales funnel up and you decide what you want to take on.
Mm-hmm.
And you can warn people as many times as you want, but like, this is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You have to decide what you want out of it. Instead, they take everybody that comes, like, oh my God, the fountain's turned on. You can't turn it off and then try to slow it down. That's just how it is. So again, that's why, that's one of the reasons why you're a very important resource to us is, hey, can you help with this? Because they all want to expand, but the excitement of expanding and getting new buildings and hiring new employees takes precedent over the foundational support of, do you have enough revenue coming in to offset this growth?
It's just accepting what you don't know. Like, there's a reason that you have a financial planner that helps, unless you're really into financial planning for yourself, that you go and sit down with somebody and say, here's my money, this is how, and you strategically find out how you're going to invest in yourself for the longevity of your life. And the same is true if you got into a business. I can almost guarantee you there are some situations where people love accounting, but most business owners did not get in it to sit on a Friday night for 6 hours going through their books and still not fully understanding what they're doing. And it's worth every penny to invest in that part of your business and to know, like, hey, if we get to this point of revenue, we need X, Y, and Z to sustain that. Why wouldn't you ask those questions? Why wouldn't you try to strategic? And I think the common misconception is that that's expensive to do. It's not. It's not expensive to go out and have somebody be the eyes and ears of your financial.
Well, and you also have no skin in the game. You're a third party, so if they're not making money and you tell them, it's not like it's not hurting your business. And if they do have room for growth, you can recommend that.
That's why the accountability part, right?
Yeah, but when I look at what Andrew was going through, the frustrating thing for me was you could see where he could sell more jobs, but the back end wasn't getting fulfilled. And one of the things I remember asking you was, who can you go to? Like, I meant, like, who can you go to as an HR person? You said, well, there's 6 other people. I can go talk to them. My point was, who could stick up for you? So having an HR department, like if I worked at ESPN or Disney right now, I wouldn't want to be the HR person. Every day, Chris Berman and Jonathan Coachman, all these people are being accused. That HR person is worth their weight in gold if they can fix this. If you don't have someone there to kind of fend off those issues before they start, look where you're at. That's going to cost millions of dollars either way. And ESPN is just a small little network, as we all know.
Well, yeah, just tiny. One of the first clients we got, he told me when we first took over, he goes, I wish I would have done this a couple years ago, partnered with somebody that would have kind of given me better guidance than me trying to figure it out on my own. He goes, honestly, it probably would have saved me $20,000 because of all the mistakes I made with my taxes. And then they were using 4 different vendors with taxes who weren't filing K-1s for the company and all this stuff. And now here you are 5-6 years later into the company, and you have issues that you're dealing with that were 4 or 5 years ago, when a lot of that could have been taken care of 4 or 5 years ago
Right.
by partnering with somebody, and you might put a little bit more money out there financially to have somebody come in and be the eyes
But it
and
wouldn't have
ears.
cost him $20,000 to hire you.
That's exactly right. And now that he's a client of ours and we're working together, it's an amazing partnership, and they're very grateful for us, and we're grateful for them. But he goes, your business model and the way you do things is just so nice, because as a new entrepreneur, I wish I could have picked up the phone and called somebody like you and say, hey, I'm starting my business and I need this, and this in place. Can you help me
You
with
should
that?
market this, because it sounds like people need this. I'm not into the marketing aspect at all after this conversation.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
you don't need
I'll get
to
with
market.
Andrew.
You
Me and
don't
Andrew are
need
working
to.
on a marketing campaign right
Oh,
now.
totally should. Buy the shopping carts.
Well, I think
That's my favorite. Go on in.
I think another aspect is pride or your ego is involved as an entrepreneur.
100%.
A lot of people don't want to well, I don't know about that, and you have to bring in an expert. You feel like, okay, now I'm the dumb guy in the room. Some people have a serious problem with that, of not being the smartest person or knowing everything, or thinking that everybody in the room thinking that they know everything.
My favorite is that guy who's rubbing that chin like, I'm thinking, and the whole time they're like, oh my God, I don't know this answer. Because that's the person you want to talk to, and like, I can fix this, brah. But, they don't want to tell you that they don't know. There's no shame in saying you don't know, right? It's a learning experience.
That's a common word, a phrase I use if I'm with a homeowner and I don't know. I mean, I'm in different types of homes and builds, and
I do give you credit, because you'll say that a lot, where you went somewhere, you're like, I don't know, let me check and
I
find
don't
out.
know. Yeah, I don't. If I don't know,
Most
something,
people don't do that. They go, let me tell you exactly. Take this to the bank.
I don't know.
These shingles were made out of real.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This was made out of alpaca skin.
If you don't know, then just tell people that, and people respect it. But I know somebody that will.
You know a guy.
I always know somebody that will be an expert on it, and I can give an honest opinion, and then people respect it more.
I want to put this out there. I watched a TED Talk, which I don't do super often, but I needed some type of encouragement yesterday for whatever reason, and I get on and start looking through something, and this thing popped up, and it said, it was this lady talking about being an opportunity maker and what that was, and she talked about how when she was in high school, she wasn't the coolest kid, she wasn't this, she wasn't that.
So you empathize, because you're not.
Oh, I started crying because that's how I grew up.
I'm a nerd.
I'm a nerd. But her whole point was that she was shy her whole life, but what she figured out was, if John needs somebody to help him with something he's not good at, and Larry needs somebody to help him with something he's not good at, and this other guy needs something. She goes, I found a way to start connecting people that needed each other, and next thing I know, I'm helping co-create with people who are weak in certain areas, and here I am on this amazing stage talking about opportunity makers. And I think we all kind of are opportunity makers, and co-creating with somebody is how you get there. I'm not on the show because I know everything. I know a fraction of what some
You're on the
people
show
know.
because I like you as a person.
That's true.
Literally the only reason.
Right.
It's the show.
Literally.
Andrew's here to provide business advice. You're just here because we like
And you get community hours.
Yeah.
Community service hours.
I don't have to pick trash on the side of the road if I have you on the show.
That's right.
This is like my own Make-A-Wish.
Right. I guess I say all that to say there's this common misconception that you have to know everything in order to be an entrepreneur, to get on the radio, to do anything that we're doing, and you don't. We're here to say we're all working together for the greater good of small businesses. And why not use resources that you have to grow and to humble yourself and say, hey, I might not be good at marketing. I might not be good at accounting. But hey, I know people that are, and they have my best interests. And I think that's why we're all here.
Yep.
And
I think that's a good place to leave it.
yeah.
Next time we'll record this.
You've been paused.
That's right.
Yeah.
We paused 30 seconds in. You've been listening to the 101 brought to you by Lincoln Wallace, and we'll talk to you next week. Who hit the pause button?
Thank you for watching.